Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Let's Play SimCity 4. We'll be returning to Epic Cove for this episode. Now, what happened was I recorded about 27 minutes of primarily making roads, bridges, and tunnels, and I thought the commentary was rather dry, so I thought instead of breaking it up into 2 episodes and posting it as it was, I would double time it and just record new post commentary. So that's what we're going to be doing. This episode is mainly about building roads, bridges, and tunnels. Even though I do build a few zones here at the beginning, that's really all the zoning I'm going to do in this episode. So if it's not your thing, then you can just skip on to the next one. But if you like watching, if you like roads, bridges, and tunnels, then stick around. Alright, so basically what we're going to do, my idea is to connect up all these different islands in a series of tunnels and roads. Well, the tunnels are going under some of the mountains and the bridges are going to go across them, because what I want to do is build little towns and even maybe a few small cities on some of the flatter parts of the islands, because there actually are some accessible places, and I think it would be kind of neat to have a few small cities, maybe 20,000 people living in a small area that's surrounded by peaks and water and all sorts of cool things. I mean, there are such places out there in the world, plenty of them here in America, and I thought it would be a pretty cool thing. So, it's mainly what we're going to be doing. It's going to be pretty cool. I plan to stay on in Epic Cove for a while just because it's pretty cool. And I don't use any of your name suggestions yet, but I've written them down on a sheet of paper. Hold on. I even have the paper here somewhere. Alright, where did I put that paper? Here it is. Hear that? I'm shaking the paper. I wrote down some of your name suggestions, so it's not going to be like I have forgotten them. I just haven't used them yet. I remember I ran into a little bit of trouble with this bridge because I built it too much at the edge of the one landing, and I couldn't build a road that would curve back in time. I really wish that you could build diagonal bridges in this game, because that would be very helpful, because sometimes the directest or the most direct point across a chasm or a body of water is would be a diagonal bridge, and either going straight horizontal or straight vertical is going to be very take up more room than is necessary. So that's something that would be helpful. Maybe in future editions of SimCity, if the game actually gets back to the roots and stops making silly stuff like SimCity Societies. Now, I never played SimCity Society, so it might not be fair for me to judge it, but from what I heard, it does away with a lot of what makes the original 4 SimCity games great, and they're like, oh, we want to make a more approachable game for newer players. And I can understand that to a degree, but really, come on, if you're playing a SimCity game, you know what you're getting into. You're in for a very complex experience. You're in for challenge. And because of that challenge, you can make quite great things once you worked out all the things you need to do to have your city working harmoniously. And as I said in a previous video, I'm not a hardcore gamer of any sort. I'm not even a hardcore SimCity player, but I know enough that I've basically figured out how to make a moderately successful city, and it's a gratifying experience to have a nice city at the end. And I don't know. Like I said, I can't say too much about SimCity Societies, having never played it, but something gives me the impression that you don't quite have the same feeling. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the game's great. But, that's just what I heard. But, anyway, I kind of forget where I was going with that whole thing. But, oh yes. Maybe in the future, they'll come back to their senses and make SimCity 5, or SimCity 5000, or whatever. It's kind of interesting that a bunch of franchises will go off on different wacky names for their product, and then eventually come back to numbers. For example, SimCity is a mild example. They had SimCity 2000 and 3000, which aren't that crazy because if those of you who are old enough remember back in the 90s, calling something 2000 was, very popular. So SimCity 2000, ooh, exciting. Of course, calling something 2000 now is kind of silly, so they don't do it anymore. But back then, they would tack 2000 to the end of something and it would seem futuristic and exciting. Now, these days, when we think about the year 2000, I imagine most of us still had dial-up internet back then, and most of us did not own cell phones then. Well, at least I didn't, but I was only 14 at the time. I didn't really need one. I mean, seems like every 14-year-old has their own cell phone these days, but back then, it was really unnecessary. Oh, look. This is when I had a fire. So I had to quickly throw down a fire station somewhere and get this fire. I kind of hoped that the fire would be a little bit more exciting, but it was a really dull fire that I was able to put down quickly. But yeah, anyway, like I said, year 2000, looking back now, wasn't that exciting. We had the election of 2000, by that, that didn't really have anything to do with technology, and that was what the whole excitement of 2000 was over. But then they named it the next one 3000 because they're like, oh no, we have to continue with the motif or whatever. And okay, cool. SimCity 3000 was good. I think I liked 3000 a lot, even though it didn't have, the classic appeal of 2000, nor quite the sophistication of 4. So it's kind of like the awkward middle child of SimCity, but it still holds its own as a fun game, and maybe one of these days I'll play it, I don't know. And anyway, here I kind of came across an unfortunate thing. I kind of mutilated this mountain to make a kind of pointless road, but oh well. We'll just have a deep hole in the mountain for no reason. But anyway, like I said, SimCity got back to its roots by numbering their game 4. Or back to its numbering roots, I guess. Just like, apparently, the new Sonic game. Now, keep in mind, I grew up with Sonic, but I really zoned out after the Genesis games. I don't know anything about Sonic Adventure or Shadow the Hedgehog or anything like that. I don't know anything about those other than, what I've heard just from being out there in the culture, I guess. But I've never played anything beyond the original Sonic games. But I recently heard they released a game called Sonic 4, which is sort of like a tacit admission to me by the Sega people that everything after the original Sonic series has failed. And I don't want to get a bunch of, hate mail from Sonic fans. So I'll say this. I don't know whether the later Sonic games are good or not. Maybe they're good. I'm willing to be proven wrong. Not even proven wrong, because I'm not even going to say that I think they're bad. I'm just going to say I haven't played them, so I don't know. They might be great. But like I said, they've gone back to their numbering traditions. Even Windows itself. You know how there was Windows 1 and Windows 2, which came out in the 80s, and no one really bought because they were kind of stupid. Well, not stupid. They were pretty... I mean, they were good for the time, but they didn't allow you to do much, and they were really for geeks and nerds like me, and possibly you, more than, your average person. But then Windows 3.1 was pretty big. And then they went off on the whole Windows 95, 98, 2000, ME, XP, Vista. But then the newest Windows, they came out with Windows 7. They went back to their naming roots, which is kind of interesting because if you're looking at internal numbers, Windows 95 is actually Windows 4. And I think Windows 98 is really like 4.1 or something. And I forget exactly what 5 and 6 were. Like 5 might have been, Windows 2000, and 6 might have been XP, something like that. And I even heard a rumor that Windows 7 is really Windows 6.1. But whatever the case might be, they're getting back to just numbering things. So I expect someday SimCity is going to come back and make a game called SimCity 5, maybe SimCity 6 or SimCity 7. Which will be great, I think. And this is kind of a funky bridge. I really never had this happen to me. It kind of just ends there, and I was worried, might have to demolish it and reform it. But I was able to get it normal there. All right. And I'm sorry for those of you who are more interested in other games besides SimCity, but I've been on a SimCity kick recently, so I'm gonna make some more SimCity videos, and you're going to enjoy them. But never fear, because I will make Sims videos very shortly. And we're getting just about to the part where I ended here. So I hope you enjoyed this, and join us next time where we'll actually make some towns and stuff in these places. So, thank you for watching, everybody. It's been fun, and I will see you next time.